Welcome, everybody, to episode 8 of the Pipeline Talk podcast. Joined here today as special guest, Boston Red Sox legend, Brendan Coffin. Very excited to have him aboard for this trade deadline episode. That's what we're going to get into. Lots of mock trades, different kind of stuff
Operating
about the trade deadline, some players that may be moved. Very excited about that. But as always, we're going to jump right in. But I think Phil, do you want to start us out? Talk a little Mets.
All right, yeah, sure. So kind of the Mets obviously looking to be buyers for this trade deadline. It's been a little interesting to see who and what they're going after because in my mind like worry about pitching first. I guess we got a little bit of help from pitchers returning from injuries. Frankie Montas gave us a little bit of a scare, but he's been good coming back from injury. Obviously, Sean Manaea has been the late season ace that he was last year when coming back from injury this year. Senga's been great. Peterson's been great. So the starting rotations looked a lot better than I expected it to be. But that bullpen could definitely use some help. We've really just got Brooks Raley just came back from injury. He's been good in his first handful of appearances so far. Edwin Diaz has been one of the best relievers in baseball this year, but could really use some other consistent pieces, especially for playoff series where you're just facing off against the best in every inning. So I think that it's going to be still pitching first. Some of the guys that I've heard the Mets looking into are like Griffin Jacks, David Bednar, Danny Calm, all those like kind of bigger names on the market there. I would I've seen like Dylan Cease just got kind of Mets were allegedly talking to the Padres about him. Um, I've heard a lot of stuff about Robert Jr. with the Mets. I saw briefly some Eugenio Suarez connection with the Mets, but I don't think that's happening anymore. Um, but I mean, just to like dive in a little bit deeper, as far as like those relief pitchers, I think that let's start with like Griffin Jacks. I think Griffin Jacks, his numbers are a little bit inflated this year. His ERA is a little up, stuff like that. I'm looking like more of it at his splits. It looks like he had just like a rough start to the season, just kind of exploding early. So I think that he's been a lot better. I think the stats are, like I said, a little inflated. So I think he'll be a fine reliever to kind of pick up and really be able to solidify the back end of that rotation or bullpen. Sorry, David Bednar has been back in All Star form this year, so I like he would be a really good guy to go and get. I also the Mets have been kind of semi-linked to Mitch Keller as a potential piece for their rotation as well, and I saw a tweet this morning um, for David Bednar and Mitch Keller from SNY. And it's got this one had Mark Vientos, Jacob Reimer, Nate Dome, or Ronald Hernandez. So Mark Vientos had a couple of top 30, fringe top 30 Mets prospects. Um, I, I think that a deal like that is probably not super likely just because I don't know how necessary it is to go get a guy like Mitch Keller who would end up being like a 3 or 4 starter for the Mets. So I think the focus right now in my mind is probably on the relief pitching. So if they were just to focus on David Bednar, I could see that. The other thing I kind of was thinking about is Danny Coleman and Harrison Bader. They've been they've been thinking about upgrading center field as well. Harrison Bader's had a pretty good season this year. And I think that's part of the reason why they've been linked to Luis Robert Jr. as well. But Harrison Bader's had a better year than Luis Robert Jr. Robert Jr.'s just been pretty bad the last couple of years. And I think that getting getting like a package like Column and Bader would be um, cheaper because I don't think Column is as highly touted of a reliever as some of these other guys like Yohan Duran or David Bednar. So you get him a little bit cheaper, and Harrison Bader doesn't have that same like hype that I think Luis Roberts getting. So I think that he could be on a cheap, that could be like a cheaper package that could address a couple of the issues that the Mets are dealing with.
Bader's
Um,
playing mainly left this year. Are you worried at all about him going to center? Or he's been pretty
no,
good
not
like defensively his whole career, so yeah.
yeah, no. I mean, he played center for the Mets last year. I have no concern about that. He's a fantastic defending outfielder. I mean, it's kind of tough to put him in center when you have a guy like Byron Buxton out there too. So
Hmm.
like I can kind of understand why they moved him to left, but no, I think he would be completely fine. And I think him being a former Met just the last couple years also helps out that he
Hmm.
was there for that postseason run. He understands what it's like to play in New York with the Yankees and the Mets. So I think that just overall, it's that deal, especially like Bader compared to Luis Robert, is just a lower risk deal in my mind. I think that would be a solid because I don't know. I think that with relief pitchers, you're not gonna the Mets aren't gonna go get Johan Duran or anything like that just because you have Diaz at the back of your bullpen. So you're not gonna go replace a closer. So there's not a need as much, I think, to go spend big for a closer, but you can go get a very serviceable reliever with um, some lower ranked prospects and still get the job done. So I think that would be the right move. I think that's a move that the Mets would be willing to make, especially with this relatively new front office. That seems to be the types of moves that they're making.
See, I would like a guy like Robert on the Mets because I don't know if you could call him a flyer because we know how good he's been in years past, but I think it's sort of a White Sox issue, the way he's been performing offensively the past few years. So I think a change of scenery would be perfect for him. I don't know how much the White Sox would be willing to undersell him on a trade for some prospects. I know they would want to get some good prospects back, but I don't know how much they would, want to value him because of how bad he's been the past couple of years. But yeah, I think somewhere like the Mets would be perfect for him to thrive because we know he could be a 30-30 guy and play good defense, but it just hasn't been present in the past couple of years for sure.
Yeah, I think it could be a good maybe like an off-season deal. I just don't know that I want to give up the prospects at a trade deadline and take a huge chance. Like the goal of the deadline is to improve the team for the playoff run, obviously. So there's a lot of like immediate results that need to happen when you get a piece like that. But if they just wait till like an off season, I wouldn't be upset with them going after someone like Robert and letting him kind of like acclimate to the team, the city, all that kind of stuff, and then the change of scenery. Maybe that's what he needs, and he has the whole season to kind of like feel it out and really get in a groove for a later season push. But I just the risk of him like going from batting 200 to not even like batting 300 or anything, but just like hitting the ball more consistently and driving in runs and like being a consistent producer, I think is just not enough time for him to really make that adjustment.
On the White Sox side of it too, they're kind of in a unique position, I think, farm system wise, because they have some good pitching prospects. They have finally some bats that are starting to pull around. In this year's draft, they took a lot of bats too. So in terms of trying to find a trade partner, I think it is kind of like an open gate because it will just be whoever the White Sox value the most. They're not targeting a certain position. I think, as Brendan said, they want good prospects back. Um, I think his value is at an all-time low, so waiting until the offseason probably is what they're going to do. But I think in terms of a package back for Robert and what that might look like, I think it opens some more possibilities of some other teams. potentially the Mets as well, but they're not necessarily looking for a certain type of prospect. Thus, they can be a little more creative with packages to trade for him.
Yeah, I don't know how probable it is that he gets dealt at the deadline, but I think within the next year or so for sure, because the White Sox have sort of that youth movement going on with Teal, Caro, and Roth and all those other guys. And so they could go completely wipe the rest of the older guys out and get some value for them and then just start fresh.
I don't think the price is going to be that bad for Robert. Like I know the Mets are pretty stingy is not the word, but like they don't want to deal their top guys. Like they're not trying to move Jet Williams for anyone. I know that. But like Robert, like that's maybe like a Ryan Clifford kind of price, like kind of that 5 to 10 range. I mean, yeah, like we said, we've seen the upside. We've also seen the lows. And like Brendan was saying, guys leaving the White Sox and just figure it out. Gavin Sheets out in San Diego. I can see Brendan smiling. He's thinking about
Andrew
Andrew
Vaughn,
Vaughn. He's blocking
Andrew
Bobby
Vaughn.
Dahlbeck.
That's what I'm thinking of. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, just guys leave the White Sox, and it's clear that they go somewhere smarter, and they immediately point out, well, they're not teaching you this, or you're not doing this. And that could be something like with Robert. I mean, he's been in the White Sox organization his whole career. Maybe he leaves, and then week one in Queens, they're like, hey, why do you do this? And that's what they told me. And then he's hitting 40-40, like I don't think that'll happen, but you don't know. I think whatever you pay, you're probably going to get more than that just because he might still have that in him.
Mhm.
But Brendan, you want to give us some Red Sox talk? Talk some Jarren Duran,
I
Mr. Kenny
do. I would love
for
to.
us?
I would love. Yes, of course. Obviously, the Red Sox are in a much better position than they've been the past couple of years around this point. They're a game and a half up the third wild card spot, so I'm pretty excited about that. The main needs that we have are starting pitching, a guy to back up Crochet, so we have a second guarantee win instead of just one. And then of course, first base help and backup catcher help, as Carlos Narvaez has done a lot of heavy lifting, especially in his rookie year, and he's done great for sure. He just needs a guy to sort of help him off his load a little bit. And then of course, all those guys at the deadline we have, Ryan O'Hearn has been talked about. I know I would maybe like a Nathaniel Lowe trade. I don't know how Paul feels about that, but
Please,
I think I think we can
please.
definitely get that figured out. And of course, the big talk has been about Jarren Duran. And actually, a report came out this morning that the Padres offered Dylan Cease and Ethan Salas and maybe another guy for Duran, and the Red Sox declined it, which I'm sort of on board with because we know Cease is kind of having a down year and Salas isn't as great as everyone thinks he is. But I'm sure there's much better value we can get for Duran. Personally, I don't think Duran actually gets traded. That's the big thing. I know there's been a lot of talks about Joe Ryan and stuff, and I would love Joe Ryan, but I just don't think that the Red Sox could pull off a deal for him. And if they did, I don't think it would involve Duran. I think it would involve some top prospects, specifically like Justin Garcia or uh, maybe Peyton Tolley, but I think he should be an untouchable.
Would you have done the Padres or like what's the offer got to be from the Padres? Like, do you even want Salas at all? I'm pretty low on Salas.
I
It's been like two
I
years
don't
since Salas has really done anything. But
Yeah, I don't really have an idea of Salas right now because he's probably so far away from actually making the majors. But the production that he's had at such low levels has been really disappointing, especially for a guy that's, pretty highly touted. I know he's really young, obviously, but I just haven't seen what I would like from him. And then I think in terms of the Padres, Dylan Cease would be good. I just don't think that it moves the needle enough. Maybe another MLB guy and then some decent prospect because the difference is a rental pitcher that you'll have for maybe half a year and then prospects you won't have for a few years. And then what you're giving up is controllable outfield help that has been an all-star in the past.
mhm.
I also think some like a guy like Cease, like especially with the Padres, it doesn't seem like they're necessarily in the position to re-sign someone like Cease, maybe because he's having a down year, it makes it a little bit more realistic. But like I've always thought of guys like that who are entering free agency, if you're not in a rush, like sure the Red Sox are in a position to make a wild card and potentially make a run, but they're also like it seems like they're in the beginning of a window rather than the end. So they're not necessarily in a rush to go grab as many people as they can. So a team like the Red Sox could just
Yes.
wait it out, keep their prospects, and then go sign them in the offseason and get someone like Cease to bolster their rotation, keep their prospects for other trade targets or just call ups in general. So I've always like considered that part of it with dealing with free agents or impending free agents as well.
And I think that might
Couple,
be
uh,
kind of the theme of this trade deadline is not wanting to overpay for rentals. Having multiple top 100s looks good on paper and like elevates your system, but if you have to go give one or two of them away, as you guys were saying, for half of a season of a pitcher, in a pitcher that's underperforming and a starting pitcher that's only going to play in 7 or 8 games for you, it's kind of you got to weigh that risk versus reward versus Phil, what you said, go sign him in the offseason and all you're paying, you're using the money instead of the prospects.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, and as we get over to talk about the Cubs and maybe some other contenders that are looking towards being buyers, you really have to kind of weigh that. Do we want to spend this much on a rental? Is this rental going to help us potentially after this, or is it strictly a 5 month, 6 month lease? So I think that that kind of storyline is going to be a good one to follow as well.
yeah, in terms of the Red Sox, I would certainly rather have a younger controllable arm, such as like Sandy Alcantara or Mitch Keller for sure. There's been talk about Micah Bell from the Phillies, and that would involve giving up prospects, which I would be okay with since these are younger pitchers that we have control over for a few years, and that could even blossom to be better.
Cool. Kind of segueing, Paul, unless you wanted to jump in here, I
No,
can go with a
I'll let the
little.
buyers go before the
Yeah, buyers first. Awesome. Well, in terms of the Cubs, it is kind of, I do believe, an all-in at the deadline. You're going to push all your chips in. If there's one of our top prospects they really value more than the others, and you really want to hold on to one guy, I'm cool with that. But there is no reason that these players at Iowa right now should still be with the Cubs after this season or after this deadline. It's going to be a very busy 6 to 7 days, I believe, here for the Cubs going forward. I really want to see them go after a potential Dylan Cease. I know I just crapped on Reynolds, but he is a guy the Cubs are very familiar with. Former Cubs prospect before we moved him to the White Sox organization. I think that him having a bona fide kind of top of the line rotation piece to go along with Shota and Matthew Boyd for this season, I think is huge. We've also been linked to a few controllable starters. Edward Cabrera with the Marlins has been a very popular name. I know he just was sent down today, but Taj Bradley is another name with the Rays who just hasn't really figured it out at the MLB level. Huge strikeout numbers kind of across his entire career, which is something the Cubs haven't had a lot of. A lot more pitch to contact, ground ball guys. So maybe the Cubs can unlock something there. Been pretty good with other teams' pitchers coming into our pitch lab. But in general, I know Jeff Passan kind of tweeted out a big list of some different pitchers, both relievers and starters that I think the Cubs would be in on. The only rentals that he did list were Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly. The Diamondbacks obviously just traded Josh Naylor. I know we'll get into that a little bit later too, but they kind of seem roster wise to be in an okay spot to offload these rentals. And if the Cubs wanted and were interested in a Zach Gallen or Merrill Kelly, I think I'd be okay with that. But on the opposite side of Cease, and I know Cease's numbers haven't been great, I don't know how I would feel about giving a top 100 prospect for Zach Gallen at the stage right now. I know he's talented. He'll be a free agent, maybe again. That's somebody we can go after in the offseason. But I think the Cubs needing to address third base, I think that's a luxury item. And again, if you think that you can go in there, get somebody who's going to help, an Eugenio Suarez, maybe Ryan McMahon, some of these other kind of under the radar type third baseman, I think that's a good move. But if Matt Shaw's going to hit 3 home runs every week now for the rest of the season, I'm very happy with that. Just a power surge from Matt Shaw here this past week. Maybe they're getting in his ear a little bit. Maybe all these rumors about the Cubs needing to address third base are juicing him up. We got 3 games against the White Sox this weekend. If he puts out another one to the seats, let's go. Be that Chicago villain. But main point going back, Cubs need to address the needs. I think we added a reliever. I think we added at least one starting pitcher. And if you want to make a playoff push like we're hoping to, the Brewers have come out of kind of nowhere now, somehow the best
Unbelievable.
record in the National League. Andrew Vaughn is the key linchpin in that, I think. Nah, I'm just kidding.
I guess
But
so.
they need to do something. Nobody else in our division is going to spend. I don't think the Brewers are in position to go after some of these star players. So go be that team. Go be the Chicago Cubs and go attack the market. We play the Brewers right after the White Sox series. So if the Cubs want to jump the gun a little bit and get in on some of these guys a few days earlier than the day before the deadlines or whatever, I go for it. Pay a little bit more to go get your star so that we can go take 3 out of 4 of all 4 games from the Brewers and get a little lead. But I think again, looking at some of these other names, Bednar's been linked. A lot of similar arms with the Mets. I will say though, Phil, you made a good point. They have Edwin Diaz. They don't need a closer type. So what's going to differ with the Cubs targets is Class A is going to be in there. Duran will be in there. Kind of some of these rumors. Um, Sandy's a starter, but I think he's been linked to us the whole offseason. If the Marlins are a good trade partner and like some of the Cubs prospects, I think we do it. Uh, Cubs have currently top or 5 top 100s as of Pipeline's update, most recent update. But we did have 2 guys that slid a little bit that are just not having as good of years. James Triantos is a piece that I think should be moved. He plays second base, very similar to Nico Horner's kind of play style, maybe a little more power, but I think he's someone who gets moved. Owen Casey is just increasing his stock. Same with Jackson Wiggins. They're kind of high risers. One name, though, I wanted to talk about briefly is Jonathan Long. Very interesting Cubs prospect. He was a, I believe, 10th round selection a couple of years ago. Kind of plays all over. He's not a huge guy, 5'11", 210. He was a ninth round selection in 2023, but he can play first, he can play third. They've used him in the corner outfield spots. This guy can just flat out rake. Last year, 283 between high A and double A with 17 homers. This year, he has 15 homers exclusively at triple A and is hitting 312, walking more, striking out less. He's just got a lot of helium right now, too, and I don't know if that's an attractive prospect to other systems, or if the Cubs just want to use him as a kind of we can plug him in, play wherever, righty, power bat him sixth or seventh. So moral of the story here, overall, Cubs need to go all in. I think we use as many prospects as we can here. Don't want to prospect hoard. We're in a spot where the system's getting a little top heavy. We have some guys that are ready, or we got to move them. And I think if you can go out and get the right guys here, some of these starting pitchers, add a reliever. If they really want third base and we can outbid the Yankees for Suarez, let's do it. But I'm excited. I think it's going to be a busy deadline for Jed Hoyer and a make or break one because he's on a contract here. The Cubs don't make a deep run in the playoffs. I think they go in a different direction. Um, Being a general manager on a expiring contract's got to be a little scary, but I think he's just got to say I got no pressure here. We're gonna whatever happens happens, but you got to try. You got to go in and do it. And I think this is the deadline to do it because we have the prospects that are ready. But Cubs rant is over. Paul, I know you want to talk about Mackenzie Gore. Cubs are one of the teams. I didn't even bring him up. I'll let you take that one
Yeah.
away.
Yeah, I think all 3 of your teams are kind of Mackenzie Gore candidates. I'm really excited for you guys, all the all-stars and aces you guys are going to acquire. I'm really
Hey, but we don't
excited
have
for the
Jacob Young.
24-year-old in Double A that the Nationals are going to get soon. There's levels to this shit, but yeah, I think more likely, I think of a Mackenzie Gore trade. I think the Cubs are the most likely kind of this group. They seem the most willing to kind of move their top prospects. I'm not sure where Gore's value kind of falls. Like I'm just put my kind of flag in the ground. I am anti Mackenzie Gore trade, which is kind of the unpopular opinion in just kind of Nats fandom, if you can believe it. They all really kind of want to move him. We all kind of just accept they're not going to pay him because we're cheap and he's a Boris client. It's just probably not in the cards. You have him for 2.5 more years, and it kind of just depends where you see the team being in the next 2 years. And I don't if the Nats don't spend money, they won't be competitive. I mean, that's the easy part. So, I mean, if they do it now, that means they're not going to spend, which, fair. At least get it done now. Don't wait. But I think if this team spends some money this winter, or next year, maybe 2027, there is a chance. There's like a wild card team in there, I think. You got guys like Wood, Abrams, Gore. You got some young guys coming up. House, I think, is going to be pretty good. We'll see about Lyle. It's kind of like what the Phillies did when they first got Harper, is they got their big star, and they just kept spending. They kept bringing in more guys. They traded for Real Muto. They brought in guys like McCutcheon at the time. It was still just a little off his prime, just stuff like that. I think there's a road to competitiveness, and I think even if there isn't, you could always trade him next deadline. A year and a half of Mackenzie Gore is still pretty good value. I don't think they're going to do it this deadline. It doesn't sound like it, but they're taking the calls. As far as like, we'll just talk Cubs with you, Nick, 'cause that seems like, I think ESPN mentioned that as like the best fit for the Cubs at the deadline. Is there like anyone, young core, or, like young guys wise, you wouldn't give up for him?
I I think at least in the mock that we were both looking at, the mock trade, it had Horton and Shaw both in there. I think
Mhm.
that's interesting because that would kind of deter the Cubs, or I guess change their focus of now having to attack the third base market. Because right now
Hmm.
we're penciling him in. He's the third baseman hitting ninth every day. If you take that out, now we're back to just this obscurity of not having a third baseman, and I don't think we've had a good one since Chris Bryant, to be honest. Like it's been a revolving door there. So if you move Shaw, we're kind of in a weird spot. I don't think that they would move him. I know the Nats would definitely have interest in him because he is a solid prospect. And then Cade Horton too. I think he's shown flashes at the MLB level, but I think we rushed him up in a sense due to injury, due to necessity. So I think he's another weird one that I don't know if we would include him in trades. Now, since it's for a starting pitcher, it's an easy swap, I think, in the rotation in terms of this year. Um, Owen Casey was the other piece. I think that makes sense. He will be, if we get a top of the line pitcher with any sort of control, he will be the piece, I believe, moved. Kevin Alcantara is another name that is interesting, another outfielder. Just has so much projection. He's huge, 6'6", like probably could put on a little more weight, but 215-ish, 225, somewhere in that range. And I think he could be a legit star if he's given ample opportunity. It's just the Cubs outfield is so crowded. We'll see what happens with Tucker, but if Tucker gets we don't re-sign him, we'll probably promote whatever prospect we don't trade. I like Mackenzie Gore. I think it's another lefty though, and I know maybe we don't want to talk about righty lefty, but our three best starters are all lefties. Starting next year, Steele, Shota, and another year of Matthew Boyd, we'd have three left-handed starting pitchers. So maybe that's diving a little bit deep. The talent is there though. I think the Cubs do have good enough prospects to make a package happen. I don't know if we're the best trade partner though. I know the Tigers maybe line up a little bit better in terms of their competing window.
Yeah, and yesterday I was, going over all sorts of Gore trade packages, and Cubs are, yeah, it's just kind of a weird fit. A lot of lefties in Chicago. The Nats outfield isn't crowded per se. Like you never really want to, you really just got to accumulate talent. But there is at a point like Woods locked in and left. You're going to let Cruz play center or right. You're going to, at least for a couple years. And then after that, like there's probably an open spot, but they like Dalen Lyle. They're giving him a shot. They like Jacob Young, even though they shouldn't. Like I, it, it's like Owen Casey is better than those two, but then I think like I don't know how internally they feel about bumping one of their young guys out. I like Shaw, but yeah, like the Cubs, Ard was still trying to win. Someone's got to play third. Like we could throw in Ahmed Rosario, but like, do you want Ahmed Rosario at the? He's kind of a lefties guy mainly.
Yeah, and I think it's funny we were linked to Rosario, I believe, either at the deadline last year or maybe just an off-season kind of rumors. But I think he could be an interesting fit. We slide him over to third, guy who can hit lefties, probably better than some of the guys we have, better than a John Birdie or Vidal Brujan. So, and that's like the Cubs need to clean up the bench. I think
Mhm.
either promote some prospects to get some at bats or go out and get a legit veteran bat. I think Justin Turner his run here, the 40-year-old might be coming to a close. I'm I would not be surprised if there's a phantom IL 60-day stint for him soon. The Cubs did that to Jason Hayward 1 year, just kind of letting him ride off. So I wouldn't be surprised. It just seems he's a good locker room guy. But back to the Nationals. Owen Casey can play a little first base. You're kind of devaluing him.
Mhm.
He's gonna hit, so the bat would make sense at first. He has enough power to play there. So there's opportunity. I just don't think either team is gonna want to force a trade. Tigers have good both outfield and infield prospects. They could use another pitcher to go along with Scooble. I think it lines up Tigers, and then was it Toronto? Was that third team maybe that we were looking, or what? Who else was? What was that third
Yeah,
team that?
I just tweeted about it earlier. Yeah, there was one from the Tigers. I read it wrong at first. At first, I thought it said McGonigal, Clark, and Rayner, and a catcher. Yeah, that's why I tweeted, I will drive Mackenzie Gore to Detroit for that package. That is literally the Juan Soto package. I read that wrong. It's one of those three and a catcher. And I think, I don't know about just Rayner and a catcher. I like Rayner. I don't know if he's like a headline packet. I mean, I just think the Tigers aren't going to move any of those guys. There's a something came out today. I think it was from a Tigers beat reporter. They're not trying to move any of their top 100 guys. Seems like they're not really in like the all-in kind of market. They're kind of just soft buying. You know, if they call you and say we'll give you Max Clark and a couple extra guys for Mackenzie Gore, you gotta think about it. You gotta discuss amongst yourselves. I mean, I don't know. It's really so hard to see because I still think Gore can take another leap. I think they aren't really getting the most out of him. There's an interesting article on Nats Central by a guy I know is about just how like Mackenzie Gore's been dropping his arm slot. Like he was coming from a real high angle to start the year, and he was doing really well. And then he just kind of dropped it for no reason by like like from like 46 whatever to
Degrees.
42 and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And he's getting not as many strikeouts. He's a little less command. And it's really like I don't know if they're trying to prevent injury before it happens. I'm not sure. Maybe Gore felt weird up there. I don't know what it is, but he hasn't been able to hold. Like he's been really awesome almost every April and May now. Then June he kind of falters, and then, yeah, about this point, like he starts to fall off. Gave up 8 runs against the Padres in his last start. ERA is like 3.5. Like I really think if you hold him for another deadline, and you can unlock something with a new coaching staff coming in, that the value might even be the same. Like a year and a half of Gore, but he's taken the leap instead of 2.5, and you think there's something to come. That's just me. There's a couple different guys that need to get moved. Michael Soroka, Kyle Finnegan, a lot of who cares. Brendan, do you want Nathaniel Lowe? Because I don't.
I wouldn't mind Nathaniel Lowe, honestly.
I don't
Even
even want
Josh
it.
Bell, call me crazy, call me crazy.
Have
Oh,
him.
jeez.
Give me
I'll buy
Josh
his
Bell
plane
for
ticket.
like a bag of Lay's chips or something.
Yeah, like enjoy Boston, sweetie. Have a good time.
I've
Like
always wanted Josh Bell, but maybe not, fat
you don't want him playing.
35-year-old
You
Josh
don't
Bell.
want him playing first. Yeah, I saw an interesting one that got sent in yesterday was Nick, if you want to hear this one, is a non-Gore Cubs trade. Michael Soroka and Jose Ferrer. Who, if you don't know Ferrer, he's got like 4 or 5 years of control. He's a reliever. Great stuff. It's like a 3.19 FIP. The ERA is like a 4.5, but the underlying's a lot better. And it's
Throws
for
hard though.
Justin Long, who you were talking about earlier.
Hmm.
Drew Gray, your like 27th prospect, and Ty Southesine is like the 29th. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on that. I figured that's a little too much for the Cubs to give up. I think, Long was their ninth prospect when he tweeted this. He's gone up to six, just kind of more indicative of the success he's had than anything else. But is that too much, you think? Where do you fall on that?
Soroka is a free agent, right?
Mhm.
He'd be a
Yeah,
strict
the
rental.
Soroka's expiring. He's probably better. He could be like a back end starter for y'all. He really falls off after like the fifth inning. He's
Yeah.
really like he was a reliever most of last year with the White Sox. He'd be a really good reliever. And then Ferrer, just he seems like Robert Garcia, who would give up for Lau, who's like he's gonna figure it out. Maybe not with us because we're stupid, but
I think in the Mike Soroka like camp, I guess we have a bunch of guys that are very similar to that. Like a
Hmm.
Colin Ray kind of dies after 4 innings. He's going to give up runs every outing. We have Javier Assad, who has not played. The Ass Man has not played this year at all. He had a rehab. I know, I think I talked about it last episode, but he was rehabbing like a couple of months ago, had a setback, and now pitched in a Arizona Complex League game yesterday, I believe. So he's kind of fighting back, and he's the same kind of thing, either a long reliever or kind of that fifth starter. Um, when he's on, he's really good. His career numbers are really good, and he has a lot of contract control as well. I like the idea to go after a reliever, though, even a lesser known one. Maybe the peripherals aren't quite there, but someone they think that they can fix. But if we're talking strictly reliever, I don't know if the Cubs are going to give up a top 10 system guy
mm,
for a reliever like that. The other ones make sense. Drew Gray was a high school draft guy that has had some injury issues, and um, I don't know how I feel about giving up starting pitching or like pitching prospects at all for the Cubs because we're just so thin there in general. I think it would make more sense to give better bats than like more quality bats than more just like quantity arms. So I don't hate it. I think that that's definitely a possible trade in terms of a starter and a reliever, kind of address two birds with one stone type situation. I like Jonathan Long. I don't know what, like I said earlier, I don't know where other franchises are in on him, but I could see him getting moved. He's 23, and there's not a clear path to playing time.
mm.
But I would probably reject slightly and maybe just want to rework either Drew Gray out of it or maybe just go Finnegan and Ferrer, two relievers, and give them an extra bat in there.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was at on it. It's like probably a little bit of an overpay for the Cubs. If they're gonna give up him, they'll probably get a guy with at least a little more control. Ferrer's got control, but he's, still got to kind of figure it out.
Hmm.
But yeah, for the Nats, just getting rid of expiring deals, listen on Gore. I would try and move Nathaniel out because I think they're gonna non-tender him this offseason. You don't really want to pay like 12 million for a first baseman who's kind of hitting average, his fielding fell off. At that point, I'd want him to go get like Josh Naylor for maybe 18 mil, 20 mil, whatever he'll ask. But yeah, but let's get into some general trade preview
Hold
stuff.
on, Paul. Just give
Guys,
me
there's some
one
breaking
thing.
news.
I what?
Oh,
Breaking news.
Oh,
New York
what do we?
Mets have just acquired Gregory Soto
Wow.
Hmm.
okay.
from Jeff Passan 2 minutes ago.
That moves me slightly.
It says that the Orioles will receive Wellington Arcena and Cameron Foster. I will pull up the Mets system really quickly. Those sound like back 30 guys,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
are you familiar with any of the either of those, Paul or
I'm
Phil?
not. I'm assuming those are lower end guys.
What was
But
the first guy? Welling.
Wellington Arcena is number
Okay.
19.
Yeah, and then I don't think the other guy's ranked. Arsenio, let's just take a look. 20 years old, right-handed pitcher, A ball, 2.38 ERA, 64.1 innings. So pretty good numbers.
I
84K.
guess we kind of glossed over a possible Orioles fire sale. Like we haven't really talked about that.
We're
Obviously,
getting to that. I was like, I was
yeah,
going to
O'Hearn's
talk
coming up.
O'Hearn and
we
all.
kind of
Yeah,
just talked
yeah.
about our teams
I didn't
first.
even think
Yeah.
about that, honestly. Like they've got a lot of pieces that could be moved because they're kind of in a really weird position,
Yeah.
especially when they were projected to be,
Yeah.
top of the division for sure.
Arsenio doesn't look bad. The other guy's not top 30. Uh, we can look into that in a minute, but okay, Gregory Soto. Look at that.
Gives
Break.
us another
Dress.
lefty, which is
There
kind
we
of
go.
Let's go. I think it's the dub, Phil. I think so
We
I
got
far.
like.
Stalls are on it first.
He's on the beat.
3.96 ERA, 3.29 FIP. It's pretty good.
He's been good in years past for sure. I know he's had a little bit
Hmm.
of a
Yeah,
He's been
yeah.
kind of bad recently, but he was good at the beginning of the year.
Mhm. Okay, there we go.
I'll,
Breaking news.
I'll
I
take
really
that.
thought we were going to be
Another
bigger
one.
than that. I was hoping someone was going to say like some Jarren Duran. I was,
No,
oh,
I was.
Gregory Soda. I mean, yeah,
Still
at least
alive,
it's one of
Jaron
our.
Duran
At least it's one of our.
I've been. I've been. I've been sitting here checking my ES every time I get an ESPN or a Twitter notification. I'm just like seeing if it's a trade, and we actually got one.
Well, I think we should start off just general preview talk. I think we got to talk the biggest fish is Eugenio Suarez. Nick's Cubs probably in on him. Sounds like the Mariners are still in on him after getting Josh Naylor from the D-backs. The Yankees are mentioned maybe the most because they're the Yankees. Seems like there's a little bit of a gap in the prospect talk there of who they'd give up. I don't. I want to hear your guys' thoughts where you think he should end up, who should be the most desperate to pay that price.
Um, I, I, as much as I don't want to say it, I think the Yankees go in for him because the Yankees like to do this thing where they get talked about to get a guy, and then of course they get him because they're the Yankees. They like listening to the crowd for sure. Um, yeah, I mean that's the most obvious place for them to be, especially since they've kind of been slipping offensively. Non-clutch Judge is always there. Um, but the thing is, the Yankees don't really have that farm system like that. I mean, I would think they trade a couple MLB pieces. Um, People have talked about Spencer Jones, but I don't know how the league feels about Spencer Jones because we know his K rate and whiff rate is all that, all the makings of a 4A player. Don't ask me why. Um, yeah, so I think it's essential for the Yankees to kind of get that bat, especially with them slipping and losing the lead of the division to the Blue Jays. And they should be in a pretty good setup for the postseason if that were the case. I just don't know the package for that.
I think they've got the arms to kind of play around with it. Like I don't, they'd probably keep Lombard off limits too. Lombard's not that good to be off limits, but it seems like they really value him. Jones, they should try and get in that deal. Again, yeah, it's kind of hard to say where everyone else values him. He's doing really good at AAA right now. He hit 3 home runs the other day against the Nationals, Rochester Red Wings. Uh, but I don't know. Yeah, the D-backs outfield isn't crowded, but they kind of do have the corners already filled. So if they really want to get some arms, like if arms are what they value, the Yankees probably are the deal to make. They got Cam Schlitter throwing 100, just made the big leagues. Carlos LaGrange is double A, I believe. Yeah, double A, 3.83 ERA, good strikeout stuff. There's arms here that they can acquire. There's not a lot of bats. They don't really need a catcher as long as they still are Moreno fans and Rafael Flores is a catcher. It's their second best bat or third after Lombard and Jones. So I think they should be the most motivated to do it, and it's really going to depend what the D-backs want. I think if they're trying to just get the best prospects, it seems like the Mariners are the team you'd want to
Yeah, I'm just confused on what the D-backs are trying to do because they have a young core, but I don't think they're young enough to be able to sell now and then still compete in a couple years because obviously you have Carroll and then Marte, but Marte is already 30 or 31 and they're not gonna trade Marte. And all their pitchers are cooked. Um, so I don't know really what they want to do with this deadline. Obviously, they've been talked about selling everyone. Um, but we're just gonna have to see what the deals actually turn out to be.
I wonder if the asking price for Suarez is going to be so high that the Diamondbacks turn around and say, you know what, let's hold on to him and then see if we can extend him or like I don't even know, sign him back and see if you can trade him next year. I don't know what they're going to do. I think there's opportunity, but if their asking price is so high that a team like the Yankees they can't even get a package together for him, you start looking at some other teams. Maybe the Cubs will add that extra guy to put it over the hump to get the deal through. Again, I consider that more of a luxury than a need. I know some people say the Cubs need a third baseman. I disagree. I disagreed before Matt Shaw hit 3 home runs, but I I just think asking prices here, and that's why it's a week away, so they can ask for anything because they don't need to move him for 5 more days, 6 more days. So some of these rumors and trade proposals that come out might sound crazy, but it's like you have a little time to work with here. Might as well ask, see if somebody's willing to jump in there early and pay it.
I also think that like Suarez, while he's having a great year, I also think it's just the surround the players surrounding him are just not the same caliber that we're used to seeing at a trade deadline. So it's kind of like he's the cream of the crop this year. So I think his value might be a little bit inflated as far as like what the Diamondbacks could ask for, like realistically. I think in a year when there's more options as far as quality bats, especially bats, go, I think that his value maybe dips a little bit just because he's a little bit older. He's not a liability at third base, but
He's
I
fine.
wouldn't I
Yeah,
wouldn't
not
consider him a
More of
plus
a
to
DH type.
yeah. So especially as he ages. So I just think like to your point, Nick, like go ahead and ask for as much as you can with Suarez this year. But I also think I don't know if it would be necessarily wise to hold on to him for another year. I think at some point you pull the trigger with him, especially if they're going to go ahead and fire sale. You might as well pull the trigger, get at least a few decent prospects because I honestly, unless he has an MVP caliber season next year or something like that, I don't see his trade value staying the same.
well, and they would have to re-sign him because he's going to be a free
Yeah.
agent. So it would have to be they'd have to say, well, we're not going to trade you. We're going to re-sign you and like kind of evaluate. It just seems like a lot of moving parts to be able to do that. So I agree. At
Hmm.
some point, they're probably going to settle, but I don't know if they get hot here in the next couple days, win a couple games, get a little momentum. Who knows? I mean, or maybe they're interested in a Zach Gallen extension talk. I don't know what his asking price is going to be, but the D-backs definitely are really weird, kind of in a weird spot. But if we wanted to move to the Orioles, I think they're just I don't know, little train wrecky right now. I don't think they know what they're going to do.
Yeah, I think they got to sell. They're last place in the division. Got a couple expiring contracts. Ryan O'Hearn seems like the biggest one. I think people are sleeping on the value he's going to have. He's not Suarez level, but he's probably that next best bat, kind of right up there with Marcelo Ozuna. I don't know who comes into play with him. Does the Red Sox? Do you think he can play first base? The kind of deal. Would they trade him in
Absolutely.
the? Yeah, I think he's not bad at first. I think he's split between DH for them. I'm not watching a lot
Yeah.
of Orioles, but
I would love Ryan O'Hearn, especially because sort of the system the Red Sox have right now is when lefties pitch, they got Romy Gonzalez and Rob Ref Snyder in the lineup every single time, which are absolute lefty mashers. And I think a Ryan O'Hearn, Romy Gonzalez platoon at first base
Mhm.
would be wonderful for the Red Sox, especially because they're kind of inconsistent with the lineup. And so it kind of fits right in because you got a guy that can mash righties and a guy that can mash lefties. Although I know O'Hearn's been kind of weird against righties this week, but I definitely would love a Ryan O'Hearn.
yeah, and I think just any real team in need of that next big bat should be in on him. I don't know if the Yankees come into play. They kind of filled up in the first base DH department. I remember seeing the Rays mentioned. The Rays are kind of slipping a little the last few weeks. They're going to need kind of a spark plug. They're usually not big on buying. They don't like giving up their prospects, but I don't know where the value
What
falls
happens
for
when they play
O'Hearn.
unethical baseball?
Yeah, Rhino Herd might be too legit for them. They're gonna need someone that like
Yeah,
can loop singles
a
only.
guy that can actually hit in Major League stadiums and not George Steinbrenner Field.
But I think yeah, some team like for the Red Sox, like you're probably gonna have to pay the price of like a full timer, even if you plan to use them as a platoon bat. And that's just kind of the price you got to pay. It's not going to be top 100 guys. You might give up a quality arm or two, but that's just how it goes. And yeah, Cedric Mullins is on the table, I'm sure. He's a little more of a fan favorite, and I think he still has at least a year of control, I want to say. So they might be a little less willing to move off him, but I think it's not out of play. I mean, they still have so many young guys that they have to give a chance to. I mean, I don't know what Kobe Mayo's done to them, but they seem to hate I mean, they're just going to let him break every AAA record there is, maybe. Or he's up and he stinks. It's one of these
He
two.
stinks. He
Does he
stinks.
stink? Okay, that too.
Yeah.
So that's what they get for being unethical and not and hoarding prospects. This is what prospect hoarders get. But they're gonna have to make some room, let some young guys play. They need pitching. They need so much pitching. They need to. I mean, that's why I think if you can get someone off to the Yankees, I don't know who the Yankees want from them, But the Yankees have so many arms at the top of their system. If they can get an arm or two, someone that can start for them next year, and whatever they can do. I mean, can you all think they just traded Gregory Soto, 10 minutes ago? I'm not sure who else they have out there.
Well, Bautista was rumored slightly too. I know Cubs were kind of rumored for any closer just because the Presley experiment hasn't really worked out. Daniel Palencia has been really good back there, just has electric stuff, throws over 100, good slider. I don't know if he's a long-term closer. He's definitely could be a future closer. He's just still kind of young. So if a Felix Bautista becomes available, similar to Clase, just like electric stuff, I think they could probably get a decent amount of prospects back for him in some sort of package because I don't believe he's a rental. So you'd have a little control there. But talk about their system. They need pitching. They need pitching, and they're two arguably most hyped up slash like I don't know good players. Adley Rutschman and Samuel Basayo, their catcher, and then they go and draft two catchers in this year's draft. So it's just I go back to I was a big Brandon Hyde guy, their manager. He was a former Cubs coach, won the World Series with us, and he did great. He got all the praise, or got none of the praise when they were winning, and then as soon as they have this epic collapse, they fire him. So I'm out on the Orioles. Again, I don't know if they know what they're doing. I don't
They're
think they
not
do.
cooking. I don't know what they're cooking for
They're
sure.
it's looking ugly and it's getting uglier, and then you're gonna piss off some of your actual good young players. Like Adley Rutschman's got to be looking around like we were just in the playoffs. We had one of the best records in all of baseball, and now we're in last place. We're you're selling our kidneys and organs. Like what are we doing?
You've
I
drafted my replacements. No, I
yeah.
think the catcher
Thanks.
thing, it's kind of what the Dodgers do. Like the Dodgers just farm catchers, and then they
You can
trade them
move
when
up.
their
Yeah.
value kind of peaks. They pulled the rug on us with Keibert Ruiz. They didn't mention he's the worst baseball player ever. I wish they would have.
There have been
Uh,
rumors of Dalton rushing to the Red Sox in exchange for prospects, so
yeah,
you got a
do
point
not
there.
trade for Dodgers catchers. Don't do it.
Diego Cartaya just got released. He was a former
I
Oh,
thought he'd
top
be,
he's
100
I thought
too.
he'd be the truth.
I
He
didn't
had
realize how
tons.
bad he was doing in AAA. You see like 40 strikeouts and 50 at bats.
Yeah, it was
That's
awful.
crazy.
80% strikeout rate. Yeah,
No,
yikes.
but yeah, like it's getting a bunch of catchers is not really a problem. Though it is kind of when Basallo is like on the doorstep of the big leagues,
It's
but
just
you've
kind of
got
weird.
Adley around, and I'm not sure how willing they are to extend him because they're kind of cheap. But you still got him for at least 3 years. Like, does Basallo DH? Seems like kind of a waste of his value. Does he play first? Like, yeah, they just brought in Ike Irish, who might be more of an outfielder than a
Yeah,
catcher. Then they got Caden Bodine, who's definitely a catcher, and it's like, where's the pitching? What are we
yeah.
doing?
Didn't draft a pitcher in the
They didn't
first.
re-sign
They had so
Corbin
many picks.
Burns. Didn't go make a move in the offseason for an ace. I mean, this is what they get. This is what happens when you try and you're like, we actually like what we have in house. You shouldn't. You shouldn't.
You should
That
absolutely
sucks.
not.
But I don't know what they're going to get up to. But I think we should get into our little game we got prepared
Let's
here.
finish it. Yeah.
We
Yeah,
got
yeah.
3 rounds predicting the trade deadline. You get 1 point if the player you predict gets traded. You get 3 points if you get the team and the player right. We're going to start with our honored guest, Brendan Coffin. Brendan, you got a
First
player
pick.
and a location for us?
Yeah, so I was kind of talking about that earlier. I'm a big fan of Sandy Alcantara, the Red Sox.
All
I
right.
think the package would involve uh Franklin Arias, who I think is our ninth prospect, and maybe Yoel Cespedes, who's somewhere around 10 to 15. And those are guys that are years away and could pan out to be something, but the pitching help has definitely been apparent for the Red Sox, and especially for a postseason push this year, it'd be essential. And I know he's had, a weird year, but I think he would definitely help. It would help for him to be in the Andrew Bailey pitching lab for sure. So we'll see.
Okay, Phil, what do you got for us?
Think I'm just gonna take Eugenio Suarez, and I'm gonna say he's gonna go to the Yankees.
Uh,
Just makes too much sense.
Sorry, Nick.
It's okay. Paul, you can go. I'll go last. Do I get the
No, you're
back to
next. I
back
already made
though?
the order.
Oh,
Sorry,
all
boss.
right.
Sorry, boss.
Shoot. Oh wait, little on the fly negotiations. No? All right. I'll
You
steal
want to
the
trade back?
yeah. I was looking to make some moves. Um, I'll I'll go Ryan. I'll take Ryan O'Hearn and I'll plug him. Write him down here. I'm I'm gonna say the Padres go out and make an interesting move there and take Ryan O'Hearn. I
Hmm.
think that could
Try him
be
in the outfield,
interesting.
maybe. I think he's
They want
playable.
some bats. Can move some
They got
pieces
Gavin
around.
Sheets.
Yeah, they got some options there, but he's a similar player to Gavin Sheets, maybe with a little more hit um, tool. But we'll go O'Hearn to the Padres.
Okay. And I think he's played left field before. He's not much of one, but I think, they get kind of weird with their positioning sometimes. They can at least let him try. I got a doubling up at the end of the round. I'm going to go Kyle Finnegan to the Cubs. Just feels like a fit to me. He's going to end up somewhere that could use someone of closer pedigree. He's been kind of weird. He wouldn't get that much in return, I think. Maybe, team's 15 to 20 range prospect. Nothing great, but Nats need to move him. Cubs want to make some moves. I think it's a fit. And then it's me again. I'm going to go Marill Kelly to the Mets. I think it's the move
Mm.
I'm feeling. Mets looking for some pitching. He's not going to come at a very high price, expiring contract. I think he's 35. He's been really good in the playoffs in his time that he's, pitched in it. And I think it's just a move that makes sense for both sides. Inexpensive, contract that's got to get moved. I think it's a real fit. Nick, back to you though.
Back to me. I'll do a Cubs one now too. I will have the Cubs acquiring pitcher Seth Lugo from the Kansas City
Mm.
Royals. We just faced him. He kind of diced us up, only gave up 2 runs, I believe, in 6 innings. But he's a guy who he's not a rental. He has a player option for 2026, so we'd be getting him for the rest of this season. And I think 15 million is pretty fair. I don't, maybe he would opt out of that if he finishes pretty well here. But he's 35, 36. We wouldn't be committing a lot to him. I don't think it would take a lot to get him. I think that the Royals are in a position to move him. They have a couple of other arms. Chris Bubik, I think, is another interesting one. But I'll go Lugo to the Cubs.
Phil, up to you.
Mm, I think I'll go. I think that just because I think Suarez goes to the Yankees, I think Nick's mentioned it a couple times. I think Ryan McMahon could go
Hmm.
to the Cubs. I think that'd be a pretty good move for them if they're really set on getting a third baseman. So I'd go Ryan McMahon to the Cubs.
Yeah, give him a nice platoon with Shaw, maybe. McMahon
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
Freddie's, yeah. All right, Brendan, you doubling up here. Final two.
Sure. I'm actually going to go against you, and we're going to go with the Cubs again. I'm going to go Merrill Kelly to the Cubs.
you're
Okay.
not allowed to
I
Oh,
do
well,
like
that.
that
yeah.
move.
Yeah, you can't take my
We're
player.
not allowed to do that.
No.
Mm-mm.
It's a draft.
That's why we're
What the
drafting.
hell?
Okay, then I'll well then
Take Zach
uh
Gallen. It's the same thing. Zach Gallen
sure,
Yeah.
somewhere.
sure, sure. Might as well since I already
Cubs are
had that
getting
lined
everybody.
up.
Cubs are going to get six trade. We're going to
Zach
make
Gallen to
six
the
trades
Cubs
at the
then.
deadline.
Gonna
All
have the
right, and then
30th ranked system in the league after this deadline.
my second one's kind of a curveball, but it makes sense. I like Cedric Mullins to the Phillies.
Ooh.
I think
Yeah, yeah.
they definitely have had a weird center field problem for the past 2 years, and that kind of solidifies defensively. I don't know. I mean, he hasn't been great offensively the past 2 years, but I think in a environment like Philly, he could definitely turn it around and help their postseason push.
All right. Phil, your
Yep,
last
yeah.
pick. What do you got?
Um, I'll go Griffin Jacks to the Mets. One more bullpen piece. I think we need it, so I'll take a Griffin Jacks.
All right.
Sounds good. With my fine, we're doing 3 rounds, you said, Paul, so
Mhm.
this is
Yep.
it. All right,
Last one for you, and then
with
I'm
my
up.
final selection, I will have the Pirates closer David Bednar going to the Dodgers. They got to add something. I think that's kind of a get another back end
I
guy.
don't
They
think
have enough of
anybody's
them,
ever
but
said that.
What?
The Dodgers need to add something.
Dodgers need more
Yeah,
arms.
they don't. They don't need. But
Biblical
They
greed.
signed
What
47
assets do
relief
they
pitchers.
have, bro? They don't have any assets.
the Pirates are probably the last. I would say a Dalton rushing type. I don't know if a top fringe top 100, but they have some. Pirates have so many catchers and they screw them all up. So none of them. Henry Davis is hitting
Henry
180.
Davis.
He's kind of a dog. Joey Bart was there and in and out.
Yeah, last one for me. I'll probably just do another national because I'm lazy. Uh, Give me Josh Bell to the Giants, I think. I really don't know who the hell wants Josh Bell. I don't know. Maybe no one. But maybe they give him a shot at first. They got Dom Smith out there. You probably don't want Josh Bell
What's wrong
playing.
with Dom Smith? They got Devers out there actually now. They got Devers
Oh
playing first
yeah.
now.
Well,
Yeah.
well, someone's got to take that DH spot then. I don't really know. I just want the free Josh Bell point.
There
He
you
can go
go.
play.
1 point.
He could go play in Korea for all I know. But
Traded to Japan.
Japan, he could just retire. Honestly, I'm fine with
No, I saw JD Davis is in Japan now.
that.
That legend.
Well, that's the game, right? We'll see
Yep,
where those end up.
You got those written down
I
somewhere?
I wrote them
I
all
got
down.
him.
Yeah, we
Okay,
both
cool.
got them. No cheating. Brendan can't just take someone else's player again. That's some BS.
That was
Trying to
never
slide
That
that into
was
the table
nonsense.
too.
that
Was
was never
No, you don't know. You
disclosed.
know how to draft or
That
It's
was
a
never
draft.
disclosed. You
I
can do
would
the
have
same player to different places.
I
No,
would. Well, then we both get points if he gets
No.
traded. No,
Oh, I thought
come
it was
on,
the
no.
team that it gets traded
no.
to. Oh, it's just
You
that he gets traded.
That's 1 point, and then if you
1 point, yeah.
predict it completely right, so if Alcantara does go to the Red Sox, then you get 3 points.
It'd be
Okay,
kind
my
of
bad,
funny if
y'all.
we go 0 for 12 in the teams.
Yeah.
It's possible.
I mean,
Well,
the team's sure, but if we go over 12 on the players, and we're not allowed to go.
some of these
No
guys
one
gotta
gets
get.
traded.
Everyone
No
stands
trades. That'd be a really boring deadline. All the hype
Yeah,
and
That'd be
nobody
so
even gets
electric.
moved.
Nothing happening, dude.
Nothing ever happens.
But we'll see where that goes. This has been episode 8 of the Pipeline Talk podcast. Special shout out to Brendan. We've just been bringing in all of our friends from our baseball group chat. We'll get to everyone, I'm sure. So keep watching. But thank you guys for listening. Happy trade deadline. We will probably be putting out another episode kind of recapping the deadline, I'm sure, and getting into some more nuggets. But have a great rest of your day. It's a week away from today as we record, or maybe 6 days now, I believe. It's the 31st. So happy trade deadline. Hopefully everyone gets everything that they asked for. That would be awesome. Go Cubbies, and thanks for listening.